The war had not been long, but it had been strange. Ships didn't explode. Planets weren't destroyed. Instead, people simply disappeared on both sides. The humans called it the Ghost War. The Arcane Empire called it cleansing the noise. Neither side really understood what the other wanted. But now, finally, a message arrived. The Arcane Queen would speak to a human just one. No weapons, no threats. Just talk. The humans, confused but hopeful, chose someone unexpected. His name was Commander Elias. Rani, the Arcane Citadel, floated like a black crown above the burning rings of Virexa. Prime, its shape was strange to the human eye, no symmetry, no logic. It seemed alive, breathing slowly as if the metal had lungs. Elias stood inside a silver transport pod. The walls shimmered with soft blue lights, scanning him for weapons. He wore no gun, no blade, just his polished exo-armor, slim and unarmed. Made to protect him from radiation and pressure, he watched the stars outside the glass, calm but alert. Inside his earpiece, the mission commander whispered, "You're not a warrior, Elias. You're sure about this?" Elias smiled faintly. "That's why they picked me, remember? You were a peacekeeper once, not a diplomat." "I'm both," he said. "And maybe that's enough." The pod docked with a soft hiss. The door slid open to Arcane guards. Stood waiting. Tall, blue-skinned, and clothed in shining robes, they looked like statues made of water. Their eyes held no emotion. Their hands held long silver rods, not weapons, but tools that hummed softly. Elias stepped forward. He didn't bow. He didn't speak. They said nothing either. They simply turned and walked. Elias followed. The halls were smooth, curving like rivers frozen in glass. There were no lights, yet everything glowed with a soft white mist. The air smelled like snow and metal. Finally, the guards stopped at a tall, narrow doorway. "You will speak only when spoken to," one of them said in perfect English. "And you will remove your armor at her command." Elias raised an eyebrow. "Noted." The door opened. The throne room was nothing like he expected. No gold, no crystals, no walls. Just a wide open space under a dome of stars. The floor was made of living vines that pulsed with light beneath his feet. Strange glowing orbs floated in the air like jellyfish, and at the center stood Queen Saravill. She was taller than any human woman, with skin like polished sapphire. Her long limbs moved like silk in zero gravity. She wore no crown, but light bent around her head like a halo. Her face was calm. Her eyes, deep silver, watched him as if she already knew what he would say. Elias walked slowly and stopped at the center of the room. He waited. She didn't speak at first. Instead, she circled him once, silent and graceful. Then she stopped. In front of him, "You are not what I expected," she said finally. "I get that a lot." Elias replied, "You are not the strongest. Not the fastest. Your file says you were a peacekeeper. Teacher. Correct. Why send you?" "Because I listen," Elias said simply. Saravill tilted her head. "Then listen carefully now, human." She raised a hand. "Remove your armor." The silence was sharp. Elias didn't move at first. Not because he was afraid, but because he was thinking. The request was unusual. Armor was more than protection. It was identity. Removing it was like being exposed in every way. Still, he had promised transparency. With a quiet exhale, he pressed 2 fingers to the seal on his chest. A hiss. The plates of his armor folded back smoothly. One by one, they pulled away: shoulders, chest, arms, legs, until Elias stood in his simple undersuit, fabric thin as skin. Then, he pulled the undersuit hood back and revealed his face. Just a man, human, late 30s. Brown hair with streaks of gray, scar across his left brow from a mining accident years ago. Eyes tired but steady. Saravill's expression froze. She took a step back, which shocked even her guards. Her silver eyes widened, her breath caught, sharp and sudden. Elias frowned. "Is something wrong?" She didn't answer. Instead, she slowly walked closer, her gaze locked on his face. She stared at him as if seeing a ghost. Her hand lifted almost to touch him, but she stopped. Then she whispered, barely audible, "This cannot be." Elias was now confused. "I'm just Elias Rain, born on Ceres Station, grew up on Earth. I'm not hiding anything." The voice was distant. "You carry the face of the first memory, the one who lit the sky for us, the one who sang to the stars and brought us peace." But that was she looked upward, as if searching time more than 10,000 cycles ago. Elias blinked. "You think I'm someone from your myths?" She stared again, harder this time. "No, not just think. I know it is. The same face? Exactly." The room felt colder now. One of the Arcane guards stepped forward. "He must be a copy, a genetic clone, perhaps planted to trick you." "No," Saravel snapped. "He walked through our scans. His genes are unaltered." Elias stepped back slightly, cautious. "I don't know who your first memory is, but I can assure you I've never tampered with my genes. I didn't even upgrade my eyesight like most officers." Saravel looked at him with new intensity. "Do you dream, Elias Rain? You stream of stars?" "Speaking," Elias hesitated. "Sometimes. Do you remember a silver river with no beginning?" Now he paused longer. "My grandmother used to tell me about that dream. Said it passed down our family." Saravel's hands dropped to her sides. "This is no trick." The guards began murmuring among themselves in their alien tongue. Saravel raised a hand. "Leave us." They obeyed. Now alone, Elias stood awkwardly. "So what happens now?" Saravel looked at him, unsure for. "The first time? I do not know. If your presence here is coincidence, it changes nothing. But if it is fate, then everything changes." "I'm just here to talk," Elias said, "not to fulfill a prophecy." She looked at him. "Maybe not, but prophecies often begin with a conversation." As they sat across from one another, the stars above shifted. The galaxy, vast and silent, watched, and in the space between two enemies, a mystery was born. Queen Saravel did not sleep that night. She stood at the edge of her private observatory, eyes lost in the stars. Behind her, floating crystals recorded her thoughts silently. Her guards waited outside the chamber, not allowed to enter without command. On the floor near her, a glowing symbol pulsed slowly, the ancient mark of the first memory. A being from Arcane history that only existed in myths. A being who looked exactly like the human soldier. Elias Rain. She whispered to herself, "How can this be?" In the guest quarters, Elias sat quietly in a floating chair, staring at the walls. The room had no corners. Everything was soft, curved, like a bubble grown from nature, instead of built by hands. He was still in his undersuit. His armor had been taken by the Arcane for scanning. He didn't mind. He had nothing to hide. But his mind was full of questions. Why? Had the Queen reacted like that? Why did she know his face? He touched the scar above his eye, thinking of his grandmother. She used to tell him bedtime stories about strange places, rivers of silver, voices in starlight, and people with glowing blue skin. He thought they were just dreams. Now he wasn't so sure. A soft chime sounded. The door opened. A young Arcane figure entered, smaller than the guards, with gentle eyes and no weapons. "I am Kirill," the figure said. "Archivist apprentice." "May I speak with you?" Elias nodded. "Please." Kirill sat down, folding their legs beneath them like a child. "I've studied the ancient records," they said. "When Queen Saravel saw your face, she recognized it from the oldest memory crystal in our history. The crystal is locked away in the Vault of Origin. Only the royal bloodline can access it." Elias leaned forward. "What's in that memory?" "A being we called Cotton Virel. The one who brought the pulse of peace to the early Arcane during our darkest time, before we even had starships. He ended our wars. He taught us balance." Elias raised an eyebrow. "And he looked like me? Not just similar," Kirill said. "Exact." They brought Elias to a scanning chamber later that morning. He lay still as strange blue lights passed over his body. The Arcane machines didn't use needles or wires. They read his DNA through energy fields and memory waves. Queen Saravel watched from behind a glass wall, her expression unreadable. After an hour, a result appeared on a floating screen. Arcane. Text glowed brightly, and Kirill translated softly, genetic signature. 87.3% match with the first memory record. Unmodified, natural inheritance. No evidence of cloning. Saravel's lips parted slightly. Impossible, she whispered. Elias sat up, confused. Ah! What does that mean? Saravel stepped forward. It means you carry something ancient inside you. Not just knowledge, but blood. Memories of the Starwalker live in your cells. I've never even been outside the solar belt until 5 years ago, Elias said. I'm not special. Saravel studied him carefully. Many great beings never believe they are special until others show them, Kirill added. Your people may be younger, but your blood is old. Elias gave a small, dry smile. So, what do you want to do with me? Lock me up? Worship me? Neither, Saravel said. Want to understand you. Later that day, Saravel invited Elias to her private chamber. It was quiet and filled with soft blue plants that sang very faint notes when touched. There was no throne here, only cushions and low tables. Elias sat across from her. She poured a glowing drink into a crystal cup and offered it. He sniffed it first, fruity, cold, drank. It tasted like mint and electricity. I thought your kind hated humans, he said. We feared you, she answered. You arrive loudly, you feel deeply. You create without permission. It was chaotic to us, and now. You may be the reason we survived long ago. Perhaps the universe repeats itself in strange loops. They talked for hours. Elias told her about Earth, about oceans, music and snow, about laughter, and how it hurts the stomach sometimes. Saravel listened closely. She asked questions, not just about technology, but about feelings. What is grief, she asked. Why? Do humans cry? Elias answered gently. Grief is love with nowhere to go, and tears help us carry it. She was silent for a long time after that. Then she said, No, Arkeen has ever explained it like that. We purge memory. We do not carry it. That's why we're different, Elias said. Humans carry everything, even the pain. Morning, Saravel called a meeting of her inner circle. The military leaders, high scientists, and spiritual elders gathered in the sky hall. They were curious. Many were suspicious. Some were angry. He is a threat, said General Vale. He carries alien memories. He could be a weapon. He is a mirror, Saravel replied. One we must look into, scientist added. What if he is the first of many? What if humans are a reincarnation of the old gods? Another elder whispered. What if they are the old gods? The room fell silent. Elias was not in the room, but he could feel the tension through the walls. He stood near a window, watching two Arkeen children play with floating light orbs in the garden. They laughed in high musical tones. Their eyes were bright and curious. Kirill joined him. They don't fear you, Kirill said. No reason to, Elias replied. I'm not here to fight. You are something new, or maybe something very old, Kirill said with a soft smile. Elias looked at them. Do you think I'm Cotton Varel, reborn? Kirill shook their head. I think you're Elias Rain, and that's enough. That evening, Saravel met Elias again. She looked tired, her voice softer. My people are divided, she said. Some see you as a symbol of peace. Others, a threat. I don't want to be either, Elias said. I just want to help us understand each other. She reached into a small chest and took out a glowing crystal. This is the original memory, the first memory. It has not been activated for generations. She placed it in his hand. Elias felt a warm pulse, like a heartbeat, and then images not. Words, not voices, but feelings. He saw stars, crying. He saw blue-skinned people screaming in the dark. He saw a figure, his face standing among them, holding their hands, showing them how to breathe in silence. And he heard a voice that was not his, but familiar. Do not fear the chaos. It is the seed of life. The memory faded. Elias opened his eyes, shaking. Saravel looked at him carefully. You saw it, didn't you? He nodded slowly. I don't know who that was, Elias said. But they loved your people. Deeply. Saraville whispered then. Perhaps you were not just a visitor, but a return. Outside, the stars burned silently, but inside, something was beginning. Not war, not fear, understanding. For the first time in her long life, Queen Saraville was unsure of what to believe. She had spent decades learning every law, every secret, and every star map of the Arcane Empire. She was trained to be a ruler, a guide, and a protector. Her people depended on her wisdom. But now, one human just once stood in front of her and shook everything she thought she knew. Elias Rain walked through the royal garden, guided by Curiel. Floating orbs followed them, lighting the path. Why does your queen trust me? Elias asked. Curiel smiled gently. She doesn't fully trust you. Not yet, but she trusts what you carry. The memory, the feeling, that cannot be faked. Elias touched the crystal pendant around his neck. It was the same one Saraville had given him the night before. The crystal of the first memory. When he held it, strange emotions filled his mind. Peace, sadness, a deep kind of love that made his chest ache. I still don't know what I'm supposed to do, he said. Curiel stopped walking. You are not here to do, you are here to be.
That might
be harder. Back in the royal chamber, Saraville stood before a giant glowing wall. It was the Archive of Origins, sacred database that only she could access. She placed her hand on the wall, and the symbols shifted. A soft voice spoke in ancient Arcane. Warning. Viewing forbidden records may destabilize belief systems. Ignored it. The wall showed her something few had seen in thousands of years. Original meeting between the Arcane and the first memory. The being had no name. It's just a face. Ilias's face. In the recording, the being stood in front of a crowd of scared, blue-skinned people. They had been fighting each other for decades. Your cities burned. Your skies were filled with smoke. And then the being appeared from the stars. No ship, no weapons, just silence and light. He placed his hands on the ground, and the war machines stopped working. He whispered to the air, and the storms cleared. He didn't rule, he didn't command. He simply taught them how to listen. He stayed with them for 50 years. Then he vanished. Some believed he returned to the stars. Others believed he was a god. The next morning, Saraville called Elias to a secret chamber under the palace. It was cold and dark. The floor was made of smooth glass. A long stone table stood. In the center, covered in ancient carvings. This is the room of blood, Saraville said. Elias looked around. Sounds welcoming. She gave him a small smile. It's not meant for welcome. It's meant for truth. She pricked her finger with a glowing needle and let a drop of her blood fall on the table. The carvings lit up. Then she handed the needle to Elias. He hesitated for only a moment. Then he did the same. His blood touched the glass. The table shook. Beam of light shot upward, filling the room with golden fog. Inside the fog, symbols danced. Then a voice, not human, not a cane. It spoke in a language neither of them fully understood, but the meaning was clear. Two branches of the same tree, separated by time, joined again. Elias felt a strange warmth in his chest. It wasn't just a message, it was a recognition. Like a lost part of himself had been found, Saraville whispered. We share a common origin, Elias looked at her. You mean, humans and Arcane are related? She nodded slowly. Later, in the quiet garden, Saraville sat beside Elias. They both stared up at the stars. My ancestors believed the first memory would return when our people were lost again, she said. Are you lost now? Elias asked. She didn't answer immediately. Then she said, we are advanced. We are powerful, but we do not feel. We've forgotten how to live without control. Elias nodded. Humans feel too much. Sometimes it destroys us. But sometimes it saves us. She turned to him. What do you feel now? Elias thought for a moment. Like I'm standing between two worlds. Neither one fully understands me. Suddenly, a loud alarm rang across the palace. Curiel ran into the garden, panic on their face. A fleet is approaching. Not human, not arcane, unknown technology. Elias stood. You have defenses? Saravel nodded. We don't know if they'll work. The energy signature is unlike anything in our records. A hologram appeared. In the sky above the garden, it showed a massive black ship. No markings. No windows. Just a floating monolith. Kira said quietly. It looks ... dead. Saravel's voice was tense. Or sleeping. Elias stared at it. Something deep inside him stirred. As the ship came closer, all Arcan systems began to fail. Power dropped. Lights flickered. Fences shut down. It's using a dampening field, one of the commanders said. We're blind. Elias stepped forward. Let me talk to it. Saravel looked at him. You can't. It doesn't answer any signal. I'm not going to use a signal. He walked to the communication tower. Now Dadan sat at its center, closed his eyes. He held the first memory crystal tight in his palm, and he listened in. His mind, something opened. A doorway of thought. He saw the black ship again, but not with eyes. With memory, with feeling, and then he heard a voice. Returner. You have awakened late. Leah spoke. Not with words, but with mind. Who are you? Guardian of the seal. I was left behind to wait until the memory returned. Returned for what? To finish what was started. Choose the future. Outside, the ship stopped moving. The dark sky turned red for a moment. Then calm. The Arcane held their breath. Elias opened his eyes. It won't attack, he said softly. Saravel stepped forward. Why? 'Cause it remembers me. Or, the part of me that was once something else. Kirill looked at him, eyes wide. You're not just a man. Elias smiled sadly. No, but I'm also only a man now. That night, Elias stood at the edge of the observatory with Saravel. The black ship hovered quietly above the clouds. It's like a shadow waiting for dawn. We don't understand what you are, Saravel said. You don't have to, Elias replied. I don't fully understand it either. But I know this. We're meant to find each other again. Humans. Arcane. Whatever we were. We're not enemies. She looked at him. Then maybe you are the beginning of something new. Elias nodded. Or the return of something very, very old. The black ship hovered above the Arcane palace like a shadow that had forgotten to move. No lights, no sound. But its presence filled the air like a storm waiting to happen. Elias Rain stood quietly at the highest point of the tower. His human heart beat faster than normal, but he showed no fear. The first memory crystal around his neck pulsed softly, like it was alive. Kirill stood beside him, eyes wide with concern. That ship hasn't moved in hours. The Queen is getting nervous. Elias nodded. It's not here to destroy. It's here to decide. Inside the royal chamber, Queen Saravel paced back and forth. The elders were arguing. The generals were. Shouting, He is a weapon, one cried. No, he's a messenger, another said. Saravel raised her hand and silence followed. She looked at the display again. The ship remained still. It came for Elias, she said. What if he's leading? It? General Envel asked. Saravel shook her head.
Oh, no.
He didn't know it existed. I saw the fear in his eyes when it arrived. One of the oldest priests whispered, Perhaps this is not the end, but the test. Elias was called into the chamber. He stood before the council, calm but serious. Saravel spoke first. What did the ship say to you, Elias? He looked around. The room then spoke slowly. It called me a returner. It said I've come late, and that I must choose. Choose what? Kirill asked softly. I don't know yet, Elias admitted. But I think it wants me to awaken something. Something old. Something forgotten. The room went silent. Then Saravel said, Then you must go to it. It prepared a small shuttle. Elias would go alone. No weapons, he said. I wanted to see I come in peace. Saravel walked with him to the launch platform. She held a small crystal in her hand. This holds the voice of my people, she said. In case you need to speak for both of us, Elias took it gently. Thank you. Kiriel hugged him. Come back, please. He smiled. Well. The shuttle lifted from the platform and slowly approached the giant black ship. No defenses activated. No signal was sent. The ship simply opened. A circular door appeared silently, like the metal was liquid. Inside was darkness. Thick and deep, Elias entered. The door closed behind him. There was no floor, no walls, just space. Elias floated. Yet he was not falling. The crystal on his neck glowed brighter, lighting a path forward. He followed it, heart steady. Then a voice filled the space. You carry the spark. It wasn't loud, but it echoed inside his mind. You are the echo and the breath, the memory and the moment. Elias swallowed. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. You are to remember. Suddenly, a beam of light shone in front of him, and inside that light, a figure. It looked like him. Same face, same eyes, but older, wiser. Wearing robes that shimmered like stars. You are me, Elias whispered. The figure nodded. And you are me. I am the one you were born from. The first flame. The traveler who stayed behind. Elias's eyes widened. The first memory. The figure stepped closer. Not memory? Life. You are my continuation. Elias's mind opened wide. He saw visions, not like dreams, but like memories returning after sleep. He saw the early Arcane lost, angry, violent. He saw himself, or the first version of himself, landing among them, calming them, teaching them how to feel. He saw stars being born, galaxies spinning, ancient beings rising and falling, and then he saw a war, a great one, not between species, but between ideas, between those who wanted control and those who believed in freedom. You left to protect them, Elias said. The figure nodded. Yes, but I knew I would not last. So I planted the seed in human blood, and now it grows again.
You mean?
All humans carry your spark? All but enough. You are the first to awaken it. Elias looked at his hands. They trembled slightly. I'm just a soldier. The figure smiled. And yet you carry the wisdom of stars. Outside, the black ship started to glow. The Archon watched in silence as symbols lit up along its sides. Saravel stood at the palace edge, watching the ship with sharp eyes. It's reacting, she whispered. Something is changing. Ariel nodded. Elias must be speaking with it. Adavel didn't blink, or becoming part of it. Inside the ship, Elias stood still as beams of light scanned his body. The first memory spoke again. There are 3 truths. You must choose which one to share with the world. Elias raised his head. Tell me. 1. That humans and Arcane are siblings, born from the same ancestors. 2. That the war to come is not between species, but between those who fear change and those who welcome it. 3. That the gods of the past were not gods. They were people. Like you, Elias breathed deeply. I'll share all 3. The voice paused. Then you must return. Light the fire. In a flash of light, Elias was back in the shuttle. The ship released him gently as he flew back to the palace. The black ship began to move slowly, gracefully rising higher, then disappearing into space. No war, no weapons. Just silence. He landed on the platform, and the queen was already there, waiting. She looked into his eyes. You saw them, didn't you? Elias nodded. I saw myself, or what I used to be. He handed her the glowing crystal. I know what we are now. Saravel took it carefully. Then speak. Elias turned to the gathering crowd behind her Arcane leaders, guards, citizens. He raised his voice. We are not enemies. We are not strangers. Humans and Arcane were once one people, divided by time. Now we've found each other again. There was silence. Then Saravel stepped forward. We believe in logic, she said. But today, we have seen something beyond logic. She looked at Elias. Today we choose to remember. The crowd bowed their heads, and for the first time in our keen history, the blue sky echoed with soft human applause. That night, Elias stood with Kiriel on the palace roof. "You've changed everything," Kiriel said. Elias looked up at the stars. "No, I just reminded them who they are." Kiriel smiled. "What will you do now?" He shrugged. "There's still more to remember. Maybe Earth holds more pieces. Maybe more black ships will come. I'll be ready." As the stars twinkled. Above, the first memory, crystal pulsed gently against his chest. The universe had remembered him, and now remembered it back. Weeks had passed since the black ship left. Elias Rain had become more than just a soldier. Among the Arcane, he was now called the Bridge, the one who connected past and present, human and Arcane, memory and future. But peace never stays still. For long, far away, on the edge of the Arcane star system, something stirred. A transmission came through. No words, only a scream, then silence. The High Council gathered quickly. Saraville stood at the head of the chamber. Elias sat beside her. His human armor gone, replaced by robes of soft black and white, a symbol of unity. "It's the Kuroth," General Novell said, his voice tight. "We haven't seen them in centuries." "The Karoth still exist?" Saraville asked, shocked. "They do, and they've returned." For the crystal, Elias stood slowly. "What do they want with the first memory crystal?" he asked in Vale. Looked grim. "The Karoth feed on knowledge. They absorb memories, strip cultures, erase histories. They don't just conquer, they devour." Saraville turned to Elias. "If they take the crystal, they will erase our entire past." Elias tightened his jaw. "And we can't let that happen." The Queen nodded. "We must prepare for war." Outside, Arcane ships gathered in orbit. Blue and silver cruisers hovered like birds ready to strike. The skies glowed with the power of energy shields and defense satellites. Humans, too, had arrived. A small fleet sent by Earth after receiving Elias's first message. It wasn't a large force, but it showed trust. The two species, once strangers now, stood side by side. Elias walked alone through the crystal garden one last time. He touched one of the memory stones. Visions filled his mind. The Arcane as children under the stars, laughing, singing, learning. Kiriel joined him quietly. "You're thinking about what might be lost," they said. "Yes," Elias answered. "The Kuroth erase everything they touch. If we lose, this garden won't even exist in memory." Kiriel placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then we don't lose." The next day, the Kuroth arrived. Massive ships, dark and spiked, like metal beasts, filled the space above Arcane. Didn't speak. They didn't warn. They simply attacked. The sky turned red with fire. Arcane ships rushed forward. Human vessels followed behind. The battle had begun. Elias flew with a small team and a light craft to fast. Sleek ship, made for precision strikes. He looked out at the chaos, energy beams, explosions, the cold silence of space breaking apart under fire. "This isn't just a war," he muttered. "This is a test." The voice of the first memory echoed in his mind. "They will try to silence what you are. Do not let them." Saraville directed the defense from the Royal Command Tower. "Shift shields to Quadrant 6. She shouted, "Don't let them circle our line." But the Kuroth were fast, too fast. A massive pulse hit one of the human ships. It folded in on itself, gone in seconds. Elias's voice came through the cum. "We can't hold them back forever." Saraville gritted her teeth. "Then we changed the fight." Inside the palace, Kiriel stood over the ancient archive, opening a forbidden chamber, the Starfire core, a last resort weapon, powered not by destruction, but by memory itself. "It can't destroy them," Kiriel whispered, "but it can restore us, remind us of who we were before fear." They activated it. A golden pulse shot out from the planet. Not a weapon, but a wave of emotion, joy, pain, music, birth, death, laughter, unity. The Karoth hesitated. Elias felt it. They're confused. He made a choice. "I'm going in." The Curiel shouted through the cum. You can't. Go into a Kuroth hive ship alone. I'm not going as a soldier, Elias said. I'm going as the memory. He flew his light craft straight into the heart of the largest Kuroth ship. No defense stopped him. Inside, the ship was silent. Dark, cold. Elias walked through its halls, the crystal on his neck glowing brighter with every step. He reached the core. There, he saw them. Not monsters, not machines. Just shadows. Creatures made of light and smoke. Eyes full of hunger, but also full of sadness. One stepped forward. Its voice came not through sound, but memory. Why do you resist? Elias stood firm. Because we remember. Memory is weakness. It brings pain. Yes, Elias said, but it also brings love, and laughter, and meaning. We were once like you, the Kuroth said, but we chose to forget, and then I choose to remember. He took the crystal and held it high. A burst of light filled the hive. Not a blast. Gift memories poured from the crystal arcane songs, human tears the moment Saraville saw his face and paused. The stars being born the first time he smiled. As a child, the Kuroth trembled, and then they stopped. In space, all Kuroth ships froze. No more fire, no more attacks, just stillness then. Slowly, one by one, it turned away, leaving retreating. Elias' voice came through the cum, quiet but calm. It's over. He returned to Arkeen in silence. The people gathered around him as he stepped out of the shuttle. Saravel was waiting. You faced them alone, she said softly. I didn't, Elias replied. I carried everyone with me. She smiled, a true smile. Then you've done more than save us. You've awakened us. That evening, beneath the twin moons, the Arkeen and humans held a joint celebration. Lights danced in the air, music echoed. Through the valleys, children Arkeen and human played together for the first time. Saravel stood beside Elias. You could leave, she said. Earth will call you back. I'll go, he replied. But I'll return. There's still more to learn. She looked at him, her voice low. You were the first to awaken, but maybe not the last. Elias nodded. That's the hope. As the celebration continued, Curiel handed Elias a small item, a folded piece of metal, engraved with ancient symbols. What is it? He asked. Key, they replied, to something old, something hidden on Earth. We don't know what, but we think it's part of the memory too. Elias held it tightly. Another journey awaited as he looked up at the stars. The first memory, crystal pulsed once more. Not as a weapon, not as a title, but as a reminder that being human is not just about flesh or blood. It is about heart, about courage, about choosing to remember.